Reporting on archived data can be a little tricky. It requires you to either go into the SQL server or go into the command line and use the Lync server management shell to export the data. Let's take a look at both ways that you can do this. So first of all, I'm going to go into the SQL Server Management Studio. I'm going to query straight against the archiving database. So I'm going to connect to SQL 1 on that default instance where I've got my Lync archiving databases installed. And I'm going to use the query analyzer here. So I'll create a new query. And what I want to do here is use the LCS log database. And I'm going to hit F5 to execute that command. So LCS log is the database that has all the archived content in it. So now that I've installed the archiving role, I've configured my archiving policies. Now IMs that are going on in my environment based on my policies are now being captured in this database. So I'm querying against that database and I want to do a select star from messages. So a table out there called messages has all of the IMs in it. So let me go ahead and hit F5 here and execute that. And here's what we get back. I only have one record. So after I installed the archiving role and set up the policies, I only set one IM message. And as you can see, the date and time is kind of captured in there. The body itself is captured here and it's in HTML format. So we're seeing the div tags and all of the font information here. Now the users aren't really captured in this record. So they're doing some joins here on other tables where the user information actually lives. But you can right click on the body here and copy. So you'd have to write your own probably complicated type of SQL statement to pull all of the data together from multiple tables and get that information. But if we copied that data, you can just go into Notepad and dump it straight in there. So you could report on the content here. And if we actually strip out the HTML, you can see that one of the users was sending an IM. Yeah, I'm glad I have Lync so I can leak confidential company information through IM. So yeah, that's one reason why you might want to have archiving. But using SQL Server is kind of complicated. Now, if you use the Lync server management shell, it might be a little bit easier for you. There's a command called the exports CS archiving data. And really, there's so many parameters that it can be a little hard to work with. What I like to do is run help against this commandlet with examples. So I'll run help export-CS archiving data-examples, and that'll show you exactly how to use it. So you can see here that essentially you just run the commandlet, you specify your database instance, and then you control the start and end times as well. And then you basically export it out to a folder of your choice. So I'm going to use the example here to help me generate my own command. So let's do export CS archive data. And DB instance in this case is just going to be SQL1. So I'm using the default instance. And start date, I'm going to use 7/30/12. End date will be 7/31/12. And my output folder is just going to be on the C drive, C archive data. Okay, so there we go. Total number of sessions, just like we saw in the database when we were running the query. There was one session. We successfully exported that, and there's 0 failed sessions. So now we can go out to the file system and take a look. So the archive data folder, here's a folder for the SQL instance information, the date that we're capturing, and then finally a .eml file. Now, if you open this up, it's going to tell you who the sender was, who the receiver was, which is very useful. So it tells you that information about the conversation. But if you look at the body, it's very difficult to read. So what you want to do here is, instead of viewing it in this file format, is you want to rename it to a .mht. And this will let you open it up in Internet Explorer, and you'll actually be able to read the content that took place in the instant message. So if we double click on it here, there we can see that now it's much easier to read. We get who sent it and who received it, the time. It's a much easier way to kind of view the archived data. So there you go, 2 different ways to export your content from the archiving database.